I was at a bar the other night and the door guy asked me for a tip on my cover charge.
You know tipping culture is bad in America when I have to go to custom tip and manually put 0.
If you don't have money to tip your server and you go out to eat and don't tip your server, I have zero respect for you.
The default options were 50, 30, and 25.
I'm like so upset about this tip all day. I can't get above 20%.
And when you go to the tipping options, you get the no tip option covered up with tip.
I pressed no on a tip. She said, you didn't tip me. But no matter what, even if my service was terrible, I tipped 20%.
Today we're taking a look at tipping culture and how out of hand it has gotten. Tipping used to mean something. You sat down, someone took your order, and you left a little bit extra to show appreciation. But now that's really not the case anymore. As we're gonna see in today's video, there is a lot of guilt tripping at the self-checkout kiosk, attitude from workers when you skip the tip screen, and businesses actively shaming customers for not leaving a tip. I'll warn you now, the further that we get into the video, the more unhinged these people get. So stick around because I've saved the best ones for last. New rule: if I order standing up, I'm not tipping. I think that should be just a universally accepted rule. If I have to stand up the whole time, and I'm not talking about like where you're just like standing at a bar or something like that. If I go into a restaurant, I order at the counter, and then I pick it up in like the next 10 minutes, I'm not tipping at that establishment. I know that might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but you're gonna see a lot of controversy in this video.
Tipping in the United States has gotten out of control. Just finished dinner in Italy, had a great 3-course meal, paid the bill, the waiter brings out the check and goes, sign here, please. I go to sign it and there's only a line to sign your name. There's no tip line, there's no total line, nothing. You just sign your name, that's it. Meanwhile, in America, you pay for a water bottle and they flip the screen around and ask you to tip 20 to 30% for grabbing a water bottle. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to tip for great dinner service. Like this guy in Italy deserved a fat tip, but to tip for a Starbucks employee to hand me a water bottle, like where do we draw the line, seriously?
Another weird thing that we do is we write the tip amount on paper. Nowhere else does that. I don't think anywhere else does that where they retroactively add on money to their tip. So sometimes I go back and check my statements, like did they do the actual amount that I stated? It's just weird.
You know tipping culture is bad in America when I have to go to custom tip and manually put 0. They are so petty that they will do anything in their power to make you start at 18%. And if you don't want to do that bullshit, you have to go to custom tip and manually type it. To whoever designed that thinking it would bring in more money, I can tell you right now that it's completely backfiring. I think most people would tip if it just started at 10 or 15%. But if you're starting your tip at 18% and you're making the page unskippable, I will gladly take the time to go to custom tip and put a fat 0.
No, I used to be, like, oh, I don't want people to feel sad that I'm, putting 0. So I'm just going to do the lowest amount, which is, 18%. If it was at 10%, more people would probably choose that option. I don't actually know the numbers from restaurants. And if you are a restaurant manager or work in this sort of business, have you noticed that people do tip the lowest possible amount usually? Or do they go and hit that 0, that manual type in 0?
Thank you.
Why are we doing tipping at a drive-thru? So when I was working in food, I worked at a place with the drive-thru. We didn't get tipping until maybe my last year that I was there. So back in 2018, 2019. And the tip amounts would literally just be dollars. So $1, $2, or $3. And the average meal would come out to be around between $10 and $15. But we never had the screen at the actual drive-thru. I don't know if it's different now. And people would be like, here's a tip. I don't tip when I pick up my own food at the window. You don't have to tip us. Like, I'm sure the people at the drive-thru are also like, it's nice to get tips. If you want to tip, that's great, but you don't have to. But as we'll see further in the video, some people are a little bit entitled to tips when they're not even doing any sort of serving.
My rule is if I stand up to order my food and I have to get it, there's probably not a very big tip in it for you. If you bring me my food, you take my order, absolutely going to give you a tip. If I'm driving through, there's no tip. You're doing your job. I came here to order a thing from you. You came here to sell a thing to me. That's great. That's the whole transaction. There is no extra transaction required. If somebody's doing service for you, you get a haircut, come clean out, that's all fine. Tip all those people. Tip your service providers where that's the norm. But the idea that I go buy a product and you hand me the product from the shelf across the counter and then I'm supposed to give you a tip, that's insane to me. I have the same opinion everybody else has on tip culture.
I'm going to be honest, and this is going to be actually kind of controversial, but I don't even think service providers should be like, I just don't don't understand going in for a haircut at a salon, and some of these places are charging you up the wazoo for a haircut. I'm literally just asking for a haircut, and then you want me to tip you after, or like going to a nail salon. Whenever I was in Asia or in Europe, they do not expect additional tips for those kinds of services because that's literally what they signed up to do. I just don't understand paying extra for beauty services or, barber services for men, unless they truly do go above and beyond. But then again, isn't that just you being good at your job? And you could say like, well, then why would we tip servers? I don't know why we tip servers either. Again, I think it's because of our crappy restaurant practices in the US, where we're paying people $2, $13 an hour in some places. I don't want to subsidize your business. I really don't. I don't think anyone should have to subsidize your business. If you can't be a business, go out of business.
I gave her a $27 tip, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god.
When you make a mistake like this, can you tell the waitress and get your money back? Or is that seen as rude? She's obviously not gonna say that, or maybe she did, I don't know the rest of the story here, but you made the waitress's day. That's probably such a wonderful tip to have. Just don't make that mistake again.
Sorry, but am I the only person here in Canada who finds tipping absolutely out of control? Whatever about tipping in a restaurant or when somebody's really, really nice, but in a coffee shop where I have to stand and take my own drink to my table, and then I'm expected to drop my dishes over to the dirty dish pile. Not that I'm unable to do that or that I mind doing it, but what is the tip for then? I really don't get it. I remember being here a few years ago when the minimum pre-programmed amount was like 10%, and now it's gone up to 18. It's insane. I really don't understand what I'm tipping for. Like, I'm more than happy to hop over the counter and get my own food. I just think it's gone so out of control.
And it takes the joy out of going to a coffee shop as well. Now, I'll tip in a coffee shop if I stand up and get it. If I'm going to be loitering in the coffee shop for more than an hour, then yes, I'll tip. Like, I'm gonna be here for a while. I don't know if I'm gonna get another drink. So that's a little bit shisty and shady on my end. So feel free to roast me there. Get it, roast. Even Canada is starting at 18%. That's insane. Don't you have better minimum wage policies than we Americans do?
If you don't have money to tip your server and you go out to eat and don't tip your server, I have zero respect for you.
Paint me out to be the villain here because I'm not. I'm just going to share my opinion. I've never been a server, but I never would because I know the nonsense that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and I know I cannot manage it. I automatically respect someone who was or is a server. However, we need to stop blaming the customers and calling them cheap and stingy just because they don't tip, because tipping is not mandatory. It is a choice. 98% of the time when I go out to eat, I tip because my service is at least good. It just has to be good in order for you to get a tip. If your service is bad to the point where I don't want to come back, I'm not giving you a tip. But it is not the customer's job to pay your wage. We need to be taking this up with companies who are not paying their staff enough money. Tipping culture has gone insane in America. A lot of places nowadays add the gratuity to your receipt, so you don't even have the choice to choose how much you want to tip if you want to tip. Blame the wage makers, not the customers.
Well as the additional fee that they charge. I have seen hospitality fee of like 5%, employee benefit wellness fees of 2.5%. Just raise your prices on your food and then pay your employees a little bit better. When you do become a waitress, like in the past being a waitress and stuff like that, like I'll see on TikTok, you could just pick up an additional shift and have enough money to cover like concert tickets or whatever you were saving towards. Being a waitress or waiter or, server, stuff like that is becoming less and less lucrative, probably because of the greed of the establishment that you work for, and for the fact that all of these companies are just wringing us dry of our money. So we don't have that spendable income that we once did.
Tipping is out of control. I went to a coffee shop today. I said, "Hi, can I have a small cold brew and a bagel?" She goes, "You want cream cheese with your bagel?" Yeah, please. She takes a bagel out of the case, drops it into a bag, takes a prepackaged cream cheese, drops it into a bag. The toaster is on the other side of the store. I have to go slice my own bagel, toast my own bagel, cream cheese my own bagel. She whirls that iPad around. I was... with how fast she whirled that thing around. 25, 20, 18% tip. For what? I'm literally going to cut toast and cream cheese my own bagel. You don't even have to make the coffee. You just go like this. 25%? No, I can't do it anymore. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no. Absolutely insane. Can't even slice the bagel. That is one of the more basic things. Now I understand some places put the cream cheese on, some places don't put the cream cheese on, but you can't even slice the bagel. I feel like, one, that just opens you up to kind of a liability in a sue-happy country where other people are slicing their own bagels. But I'm with her at that point. Just, again, do the petty thing. And it's not even petty. It's just they're being petty of putting a minimum 18% tip. Tipping culture is real. It doesn't matter if you think it's wrong or that our boss should tip us a livable wage. If your check is $200 and I give you great service, giving me a $5 tip isn't okay. And I do understand what she's talking about because that's a lot of food. I would assume that she's carrying out to the table and stuff like that. But whenever I go to a restaurant, there's like multiple people who serve me. Like the busboys will bus your table, so the waitress doesn't even take the food. Sometimes some random dude will come, like someone who's not your waitress will bring out your food for you. If she's doing all of that, I do agree. $5 is incredibly stingy. That's a horrible tip. Like 20 bucks, that's not good either. That's 10%, but it's a lot better than $5. Now, if she's talking $40 just because I ordered $200 worth of stuff, does anyone know why we need to tip on the balance of the meal rather than like just the service in general? Wouldn't it make more sense if you carry a lot of stuff, like $200 worth of food? It kind of implies that there's a lot of food. If it's, you know, say like an Olive Garden, that's probably a lot of plates that you're carrying out to a table, versus if it's fine dining, that's like what, carrying out a plate, maybe a plate and an appetizer to someone. Why is it based off of the balance and not the effort, if that makes sense? Is it because the restaurants implemented that sort of thing?
I'm literally at the airport at this self-checkout machine buying a water. Self-checkout. Who is this even going to? Like, I'm again at self-checkout.
And where was that? In like an airport? Like, who is the tip going to? Just the owners? And at least it has like the no tip button. What I absolutely hate is when they don't even have that option of no tip. So you have to go in and write 0.00 into the actual card reader, into the card machine. Drives me nuts. American tipping culture also apparently made it over to the Czech Republic in their third largest city, which, no offense, it's really not anything. People don't go there for tourism in Ostrava. I saw no option for no tip. Of course, it said stuff in Czech. I can understand a little bit, but I also understand percentages. Numbers are pretty universal. When there's no 0% or it says like no tip, that's crazy. You're a coffee shop in Ostrava. What are you doing? So our American culture really needs to stay in America, at least be contained. We'll see some videos that take place in Canada as well. I'm sorry, Canadians, you're technically North Americans. We're all, you know, in the little happy North American family. Sorry that it went up north for, yeah.
Tipping culture has gotten out of hand, okay? I'm so sorry, but like, why is every business now asking for a tip? I'm at the automatic car wash, so the building does it for me, and the only time I interact with a human being is when they select the type of car wash I want, because now at like car washes, you can't just like go up to the machine and select your own car wash. At least in Colorado, like a team member comes out to help you, and now they're asking for tips as they're standing right there. Like, I'm not gonna be like, no tip for you. Like, other than that, all they're doing is washing down my license plates. I'm sorry, what about that warrants a tip? Car wash is crazy. You're not hand washing my car. Your building's doing it for you.
I'm with her on that. If you're just doing the license plate and then helping me press the button because I'm not allowed to select the service, the type of car wash I would like, absolutely not.
Tipping culture has gotten so out of hand, and it's at the point now where people try to trick you into giving a bigger tip. I went to a bar last night and I got a canned seltzer, which was $11, by the way, criminal, but all the bartender had to do was open the fridge and hand me the can. And he wasn't even pleasant about it. He hands me the can and it's just like, cash or card? And I'm like, card. And he's like, open or closed. But when I looked at the card reader to fill in the tip, I did a little double take because this was like a step further than I've ever seen. It used to be 15, 18, 20, then it moved to 18, 20, 25. Now it's like 20, 25, 30. And then they switched it where it would be like 25, 20, 18, like trying to trick your muscle memory. But this time the default options were 50, 30, and 25. And I almost fell for it because like a 5 and a 2 kind of look similar, you know what I mean? But I've never seen it that high before. Like, I know it continually increases, but like 50% is kind of crazy. I wonder how many people just like unknowingly tap it and don't even realize. Like, I know tipping is important, but to an extent, like, you handed me an overpriced can and want 50%.
And also you're at a bar, so you know, you're a little bit woozier and not paying as much of attention. That is just shady and slimy. Starting 50, 30, 25 or whatever he said, 50% on what? A drink? That should not be $11. A seltzer? Could you imagine getting your little, what's it called? Like the Trulies? Are those what they're called? White Claws? Just one can for $11 and you're not even at some sort of stadium sports event, just at a bar. Out of control. If you're enjoying this type of content and you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now. I post 2, sometimes 3 times a week, so it would really help out the channel to get me to that 500 subscriber mark. All right, now let's get back into the video.
Look at our guys, this is how we pay here in America. You can see all the 3 options for tipping. 20% used to be the high end, 18% was okay service, and 15% was just, you know, your baseline. But now they want 25%, which...
If you guys thought that was bad, look at this shit. 30% on the low end, mid-range 40% tip, and then 50% tip. These people are trying to charge us an extra half of the original price as tip. Now, this tipping culture is getting out of hand. Look, I'm all for tipping, except maybe when I'm going to pick up at a store. If I'm not sitting down in that store, I don't think there's any need to tip. Yeah, if you're sitting down at a store or you're getting food delivered to you, yeah, it's good to tip. Back in the day, 12 to 15% used to be like a really good tip. Now it's looking like you don't even have that options in some stores. Look at this. These restaurant owners are getting richer and richer while we as the customers, we have to pay the employees' salary. These corporations need to pay their employees a better salary and they should stop guilt-tripping us into paying salaries for them.
You're no longer allowed to not tip. Watch. So the internet was really mad at this picture where this guy went out to a restaurant, he spent $20.95, and when you go to the tipping options, you get the no tip option covered up with tip, thank you. This guy was baffled, so he took a picture and he posted it on the internet. And of course, the people were going insane in the comments, saying that they would have ripped these things off and hit the no tip option. But some people were saying that the no tip option should be taken out completely, forcing a mandatory tip every time you go out. But that begs the question, what should be tipped and what shouldn't? Because there's self-checkout machines asking for tips. And a lot of people are put off by this in the first place. They wouldn't even leave a tip. They wouldn't even go to this place to eat. But what do you guys think about this situation?
If I saw that, if I'm in a crappier mood, I'm just canceling the transaction and I'm walking out and then I'm leaving a review because that would, if I'm already in a bad mood, that would just set me over the edge. I know that's not a good diplomatic, pragmatic answer, but if I was in a bad mood, that I would just cancel the transaction and leave.
It to the bill. He's saying they didn't add the tip to the bill because they said 18% will be added to checks over $50 or more. But our check was $49 and they added it. They added the cargo port service. I think that's like, I don't know what to say, but I know that 18% of $49 is $8 and some change. And then that's the taxes. So they added it. They already added the tip.
I told him tipping $30 on a $40-something bill. So the bill was only $40-something. That's the taxes and service.
But I didn't. All right, so I
he
didn't.
over tips. Like, and I get it, and I respect that, but to give somebody after the taxes and everything was added to the bill, the taxes, the tip, and everything, $61 to give somebody $80 as for a tip when the tip was already added is a lot.
You're not wrong. The tip is included. I'm a great tipper, but it pisses me off so much when they already add it to the bill. I think it's quite diabolical when they add it to the bill because it's not a mandatory thing. Especially, now I understand when you have a larger party, like a party of 5 or more people, then they add on like a mandatory tip. Okay, that makes sense because you genuinely are really working for that tip. You're serving 5 people or more, a large party. But no, if you're putting it on my bill, get out of my face. I agree with you. I tip 20% base, but if they're going to take it, then I'm not gonna worry about it.
Oh. That's crazy. That's like not even like 15%. And she told me how good I was. Swear to God, she told me how good I was. She said, you're so great, don't worry yourself. So I didn't. Maybe I should have worried a little bit harder. I'm like so upset about this tip. I started off today with a 14% tip. So it's been like all day. I can't get above 20%. I'm sweating and I'm like overstimulated with, oh my God, we have to grab the drinks for 34.
Sales are ass too, bro. I'm breaking my back for this lady. And she's like, can we go out and get food? She made like $50.
Is this a bit that they're doing? It says Taylor Sam's brunch. Is that an actual like brunch spot? Yeah, Taylor Sam's is a brunch place. Why would you post that on TikTok? It's kind of weird for a restaurant to post how bad your customers are tipping. Am I the only one that finds that weird? I can understand you want to vent, but the actual restaurant themselves are posting that. It's a little weird.
One thing I'll never understand is the discourse over tipping. Like, tipping in America, I don't understand why it's such a big deal to people. It's really not that deep. Like, I just got the video of this girl on my For You page, like, talking about how she hates how every time she goes out to eat, she has to worry about tipping. And she wishes that she didn't have to. And she's like, why do I have to reward you? Because your job doesn't want to pay you a livable wage. And it's like, you guys continue to make this argument as if this is something new. And also, personally, as a server and bartender, I do not want to be paid a livable wage. No, thank you. That's why I became a server and a bartender. I want to get paid in tips. I love working for tips. I love getting that reward for trying my best and running around and changing the soda machine and getting you your 15th refill of Diet Coke. Like, I want that reward at the end, and I'm going to work my ass off for it. If you can't tip me for that, then don't go out to eat. Like, and if you've never worked in the service industry, then I just think you should keep your opinion to yourself. Like, for personally, I love serving because I feel like I'm working for myself. Like, yes, I'm working technically for a company, like whatever, I have to follow their rules, their dress code, etc. But like, I have to work for that tip. Often, but when I do, 20% is my base tip. I tip 20% no matter what, and I almost never just tip 20%. It's usually above, almost always. And I plan that in my head. You know what I mean? Like, I know that no matter what I get, I'm gonna be tipping 20% at least. And I remember one time when I was working, I got a note on the table that said, sorry, you were so good. I really wish I had more money, but I can't tip you. And it's like, like, that really pisses me off. Like, okay, at least you acknowledged it, and like, thanks for telling me I did a good job, but like, now I didn't get paid for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that pisses me off. And it's like, if you can't afford to tip, do not go out to eat. In America, it is really that simple. It really, really is that simple. Don't go out to eat, order takeout.
First off, I understand that tipping culture has gotten out of hand, like when froyo places ask you to tip even though you made your own frozen yogurt yourself. That's ridiculous. I get it. But restaurants, completely different story. On average, servers make anywhere from $2 to $5 an hour, which is only legal because employers are counting on servers making up for that in tips. And if you're wondering how tipped wages even became a thing, the answer is slavery and racism. Restaurant owners literally love to pay their servers poverty wages because they're counting on you making minimum wage with tips. They are counting on you making tips. And if you don't make minimum wage after your 4 to 8 hour shift, say you walk out with $40, that means your employer has to make up for that money on your check, which I'm sure they always do. So here's what would happen in a world where every server makes minimum wage, $10 an hour, just so you don't have to tip. Oh my god, congrats on your $40 burger. Oh my god, here's the $25 cocktail you ordered. Because where do you think the extra $8 an hour per person is coming from now? Something's gotta give. Menu prices will skyrocket. Your $30 lunch that you think is bad now, $80 now. And that's not even the best part. Do you think servers wait tables because they enjoy serving the general public? Servers will give you good service because they're counting on a tip. And if you don't tip, yeah, that sucks, but you just gotta keep it pushing because the next table's gonna tip you 50%. But you kind of have to be like really stupid to think that any server who's making $10 an hour and not getting any tips is going to give you good service, timely service, get you that to-go box, get you a free refill, get you an extra side of ranch. Good luck, because they're not getting penalized for not doing that. If your food's rung in 20 minutes late, oh that sucks, but at least my money's not getting with because of it. So it's either you get used to tipping or you enjoy your $80 lunch with horrible service.
Dealing with y'all for minimum wage, I think not. No tips equals no extra size, no modifications, literally nothing extra. People don't realize how much they ask for in restaurants. If we weren't getting tipped, none of this would happen. I mean, I suppose I understand that. However, it's still service, right? You go to a restaurant to be served. My brain just gets racked by this conversation because I do believe people should be paid well. But again, it's not on the customer to pay your employer, right? Am I going to be issuing a 1099 or something after this transaction? Because I guess I paid your wage? No, because I'm paying for the food, and then that money goes to the restaurant owner who will then pay you. If we had to do hourly, I wouldn't do this for less than $30 an hour, and even then I'm not doing the bare minimum. Jeez, okay. I got stiffed today on a $39 check, like y'all couldn't afford $6, $7 more dollars, then why are you here? I know I give good service, so it's incredibly frustrating. See, I really could never be a server at a restaurant. This would drive me nuts. Because I do understand both sides, but I've been more on the side of the customer most of my life, as I'm sure you guys have as well. So please let me know different perspectives too.
I want to explain to you guys why it is so important to tip on your checks when you go out. This is even a non-controversial side. So yes, I am a server, but just in general, I need to bring you guys a different perspective. Almost every place that you go out to eat, drink, or anything at all to that nature, the servers there will be tipping out to the bar staff, the bar backs, the food and drink runners, dishwasher, you name it, they're usually tipping out no matter where you go. So let's say, this has happened to me on numerous occasions. So let's say you run up a tab to $1,000, right? We tip out 8% total at my job. I know other places probably do more, some places probably do less, but where I work, we tip out 8% of our food and beverage sales, and it gets dispersed differently by the department. So if you run up a $1,000 tab and you don't tip, your server is still having to tip out on your bill. $1,000 tab, 8% of the food and drink sales is $80. So now your server has to tip out $80 just for your table and however long you were there. Not only that, the amount of time that you were there and how many table turnaround times could have happened in that amount of time. At my job, we do not auto-grat. I know a lot of places do, but unfortunately we do not. Under any circumstance. I mean, there could be 30 people, we do not auto-grat. But no matter what, even if my service was terrible, I tip 20% because I know that they're paying their bills with that. They are tipping out to the kitchen no matter what.
The restaurant needs to pay the workers better and do away with tipping. Go to the labor board. This is not the client's problem. If the service isn't good, or I do most of my own service, I don't tip. It's a choice. It is a choice. If I do most of, if not all of my own service, I'm just going up to a counter and ordering. I'm doing like a self-service bar, anything self-service, you're not getting a tip out of me. I have been wrung dry of my cares, and I have worked in an industry where you would tip.
I'm not sure what the just happened, but I went into a sandwich shop and I went up to the window, ordered the sandwich I wanted, which was a pre-built menu. It wasn't like I went down the line and you built the sandwich for me in front of me. I ordered and I got a drink and I went to pay for it, which I picked up at a different window. And I went to go pay and I pressed no on a tip and the transaction went through and she said, "You didn't tip me." I said, "I know. I know." And I was very kind, very polite, right? She said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Well, I ordered a sandwich and I'm getting it to go. There was, I didn't feel like there was a tip needed." She goes, "Well, everybody tips us." And she goes, we're making your sandwich for you." And I said, "Isn't that what your hourly wage is for?" And I guess I was like dumbfounded just a little bit. And I still feel like I'm in shock and speechless just a little bit. But I am all for tips where it's deserved. Bartenders, servers, waitresses, your hairstylist sometimes, and however that works, and you're part of if it's built or you go to whatever. I am all for leaving a tip when it's a service job that you have given me a service for and an appropriate tip. But all I did was walk to the window, order, and take it with me. Why should I have been felt guilty to not have left a tip on an $8 sandwich that was on your menu?
I'm not tipping a cashier, LOL. Why does tipping start at 18% now? In some places, it starts even higher. Why am I tipping someone who sets their own prices? I go by the up rule. If I have to walk up to, okay, this is interesting. So I go by the up rule. If I have to walk to order, to pick up my own food or drive up, I am not tipping. I'll tip for a sit-down restaurant or my hair appointments. See, that is the standard. Do I agree with having to do tips for any of those? Not necessarily, especially if you're a hair salon because you make more money, but then they do have to pay for their chair. Like if you're an owner of a hair salon, I don't know, hair appointments, beauty service appointments, I still don't understand why we're tipping for those services or, barbers, or there are some other things. Like, are you going to tip your landscaping guy? Are you going to tip your electrician, your lawyer, your accountant? Where is that line drawn? Is it more pink collar, like the beauty services? It's certainly not blue collar. I don't know what you would call barber services. I don't think the men would want it to be called a pink collar job. I guess if it's taking care of the body. Is it for body services? Food is technically caring for the body.
When you go to the USA and you're a tourist and you're not used to tipping, but then you go to a restaurant and then you see the little tip line, if you put $0.00, a portion of that meal is going to be taken out of the server's paycheck. I know it sounds fake. I know it sounds like, and I know it's not fair, but it's true. Do I think that America needs a little bit of reform, especially when it comes to our tipping culture? Yes. Do I think it's getting out of control? Yes. But when you're a tourist, it's not your job to be like, "I'm not going to tip because it's my form of protest." If there becomes a reform, it has to come from the waitresses and the waiters themselves. But that's not up to you. You don't get to just say, no, I refuse to participate, because what you're doing is you're over your servers who are just working, and oftentimes servers live paycheck to paycheck. I saw a story on here of like a person, it was like a 20 top, which means 20 people. She was serving 20 people, and it was a $400 check, and they only tipped like $25. She had to give like $24 to the pool of like hosts, cooks, bussers, and she made $1 off of a $400 tab. Do you know how much the restaurant pays us outside of tips? I think at Texas Roadhouse where I worked, I think I made like $2 an hour.
How is that my fault? Sounds like an employer issue, not a customer issue. America has convinced people that it is not the employer's job to pay wages. That's why rich people run the world, because they have us fighting over scraps. It's like that one comic of this rich dude at the head of a table and then other two people fighting over like the smallest piece of the pie, while he's like, yeah, he's gonna take your slice of the pie while he has like the rest of the pie. Why do we call it a tip? Because it's basically a mandatory servings tax. Exactly. If you are out are amazed by the service that you receive, then go ahead and tip. Some people tip really, really well.
I was at a bar the other night and the door guy asked me for a tip on my cover charge. Like the $10 you pay to get into the bar, I put it on my debit card, and then he slides me the iPad and is like, tips are appreciated. And it was auto set to 20, 22, and 25% tip on a cover charge. And like, listen, I get this guy makes no money, right? So if I were him, I'd probably be asking for tips too. But as a consumer, I cannot afford a 20% surcharge on every single aspect of my experience when I leave my house. Like if I'm expected to individually tip every single employee at a bar or restaurant, then I just can't go there. And if enough people start feeling that way, and I kind of, whenever I complain about this, people agree, so I think we're getting there. It's like, that's how local economies tank, actually. That's how bars and restaurants go under, because like, I just can't afford, and the other thing too, and I say this as a former bartender, former server, former Uber Lyft driver, and former Uber Eats driver, so like, I understand the importance of tip. Gen Z won't remember this, but like this idea that everyone deserves 20% for everything is very new, actually. When I was growing up, servers got 20% because they make $2 an hour. Everyone else, $1 a drink, basically. Baristas, $1 a drink. Bartenders, $1 a drink. And when I bartended, I would get $1 a drink and still make more tips than most of the servers. Like,
I'm happily pressing no tip everywhere, and I'm standing up now. Whew. Oh boy. My hairstylist charges $175 for a haircut. When I tipped, they asked if I wanted to tip the stylist's assistant too. I told them the stylist could choose to share the tip if she wants. Yeah, that's insane. As a bartender, tipping and subscriptions have gotten so out of control, I'm actually losing my ability to discern jobs that deserve a tip or not anymore, and what subscriptions make sense. I went to pay for a self-service frozen yogurt. Tip please. What? I made it myself. Exactly. I forgot about frozen yogurt places. Do you have those anymore? I used to have one by my high school, but I have been out of high school for quite a long time. And I remember seeing the tip screen and being very confused because I did everything myself. Like, what did you do? You just waited, and then I paid on my card and left.
You gave an $8 tip. What the hell are you looking for? I gave an $8. Okay, I'm gonna bring the food back. I'm gonna bring the food back. Okay.
You can leave it, thank you.
No, I could speak to you, actually. I need to speak to you. I don't think you realize where they're coming from, so I need to speak to you.
Where what's coming from?
Where the food you ordered is coming from. I don't think you realize the distance that it's come from, because then you would never actually have given what you gave. So I think you can come and see face to face. Because I drove 40 minutes, and it was extremely far, and I got it to you early. So I don't think you realize where you ordered from.
I don't understand. You
Well,
40 minutes from where?
From the restaurant that you ordered from. Do you realize how far it is? Do you realize you ordered from Colmac and you're in Smithtown?
That's a 15, 20-minute drive.
It's not. You need to try to drive it. I just drove it. It's 40 minutes. It's 12 and a half miles. So I don't think you realize how far it is.
So what do you have to pick up if you think it's that far?
They don't let us know how far. So I think you need to adjust your tip. Right.
How much is the tip?
You gave an $8 tip.
What the hell are you looking for? I gave an $8.
Okay, I'm gonna bring the food back. I'm gonna bring the food back. Okay.
Okay. Are you kidding?
$8? That's a lot.
40 minutes?
I've literally never given an $8 tip on DoorDash in my life. I think I have if I order a lot of food. Please tell me she was fired from DoorDash. I mean, that is an outrageous reaction. Should she be fired? Maybe she was having an off day, but it was quite entitled of her behavior to crash out like that. This is from a DoorDash driver's perspective. She should have just declined if she didn't want to go that far. Accepting the order means she's okay with the distance. Exactly. At the end of the day, you are literally putting yourself in that position. You see what the tip is. You don't have to do it. You can wait for a different order to come. Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know your thoughts below. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, and I'll see you in the next one.